Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. It's a bit late, so I'm going to try to keep this a bit short. So I was asked a few days ago by a commenter, I believe the commenter was Lloyd, about my thoughts on this supposed censoring or removal of the film Gone with the Wind. Right? For those who may not know, Gone with the Wind, I believe, came out in 1939. It's a story it's an epic about a woman in the South and her rise and her fall during the Civil War era. I haven't seen it personally. I am not a big fan of the classics, and I'm especially not a big fan of films that take place in like slave times and all that. It just, I saw plenty of them when I was growing up, Roots and whatnot. That particular genre of film just doesn't interest me personally. But here's what I think about Gone with the Wind. Just the idea of it. I want it to stay. The actress who played the female house slave won an Oscar. And she should not be erased from history because it's now socially unacceptable to admit that, yes, the U.S. practiced slavery over 200 years ago, or getting closer now to 200 years ago, right? What I do not like about this is that I do not want this to be like what Disney does with Song of the South, right? Which was also a work that they did that had a slave, and I think even he won, I think, an Oscar for his work, where, Disney hides it away in their vault and they try to act like it never existed because of the fact that, it, at least from their perspective, made slavery look like a good thing, right? And all this other stuff. I think that these works should stay in the public discourse. They should be open for people to watch and to talk about and to come to their own conclusions on. And I think that while we, of course, need to know our history so that we don't repeat it, and of course, we should not, what's what I'm looking for? I guess what I'm trying to say is that I do not agree with censoring things just because they were made in a certain time period and they were made with a certain society in mind. Let me give you an example of a song, right? All types of media fall into this, right? But a popular song, especially around the holidays, is "Baby, It's Cold Outside," right? And that song has come under fire in recent years because of the fact that it's seen as a man sort of pressuring a girl, trying to talk her into staying, right? And basically, trying to sort of like coerce her into having sex with him. What is not understood, because the context of the song and the context of our society has changed over time, is the fact that when the song came out, it was viewed very differently. It was viewed as very playful and flirty and romantic, because according to the standards and the culture of that time, right, a woman sort of needed a reason to be in a man's presence past a certain time, right? This was when, everybody in society tried to act as if humans never committed adultery, always waited until marriage and all this stuff, right? So if you actually look at the lyrics of the song and you put them in context to what the societal expectations were, especially of women in that time, the man's actually trying to give her a reason to stay. Right, the whole thing is that he's saying, "Oh, it's cold outside. You don't want to go out there. It's cold." And she's coming up with, reasons like, "Oh, I can't stay." People talk. It's like, "Oh, come on," right? He's actually trying to give her justifiable reasons to stay in his company a little bit longer, which she wants to do. He's actually trying to give her an out of sorts so that if people were to say, see her leaving his apartment, so scandalous. At that time, she would have a reasonable explanation. Oh, it was cold. Oh, it was snowing, right? So that it would not ruin her reputation, right? It's not what we think, is basically what I'm trying to say. And with a lot of these works that were made for a certain period and a certain audience, right, it's not what you think because we didn't live at that time period. So it was not intended for us, right? A film made in the 40s was not intended for an audience in 2020. It wasn't intended for an audience in 1945. Things change, but our media doesn't, right? Once a film is made, and it's always going to be what it is, right? There are many elements of anything, going back even just 30 years ago, that are questionable or problematic by today's standards. And I say, you know what? Fine. Those works still have a right to exist. Just because you find them problematic does not mean that it's wrong. It means that either you're too sensitive or simply times changed. And I hate to break it to people, but yeah, time changes. And if you give it enough time, put 30, 40 years down the line, there'll be a lot of stuff that's made today that would be considered problematic. We can acknowledge that something was wrong, be it a government policy, be it a societal view, right? We can acknowledge that it was wrong without trying to erase it from history. Let me give you guys another example, right? My favorite, my second favorite Disney movie, right, of the Renaissance. The first is Beauty and the Beast. The second one is Disney's adaptation of Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? My favorite song from that film is not Hellfire, right? Although it's done amazingly well by Tony J. But it's actually God Help the Outcast, right? And the beginning of that song starts, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if you're even there. I don't know if you would listen to a gypsy's prayer. I've heard renditions of this song made for the modern day where the word gypsy is taken out and instead of put with like this woman's prayer or this girl's prayer or whatever it is. No, you need to keep the word gypsy. You know why? Because that's what she was. That's what the Romani people were known as at the time, gypsies, and it especially fits the message of the film because of the fact that the gypsies, the Romani and Esmeralda in particular, are victims of a government abuse of power, right? Victims of discrimination and racism and all this other stuff. So having a term that could sort of be used as a slur, right, makes perfect sense for that film. You should not take it out just because it's offensive now. We might offend the Romani people. Okay, shouldn't we ask the Romani people if they're offended by it? You might get an answer that's a bit surprising. Or another one, right? If you've ever seen the Disney film Pocahontas, right? The Disney animated film. There's a song called Savages, right? And in that song, both sides, the Native Americans and the English settlers, right, used very racially charged language. And it makes perfect sense because of the fact that they're literally demonizing each other, right? Radcliffe says their skin's a hellish red, they're only good if they're dead. And I think it's Powhatan. He's like, this is what we feared, the pale face is a demon, and all this other stuff. It's very racially charged and it's very harsh language, and it needs to stay. It needs to be left as it is because guess what? That's the point of the song. They are literally demonizing each other, and their fear and hatred of what is not like them is what's drawing them into war. If you start altering things, if you start whitewashing, blackwashing, redwashing, whatever type of washing of history, and it's not just history books which are already heavily edited, right? History is also our media. It's our songs, it's our TV, it's our books, it's everything. If you start altering these things, right, so you are not offended, then to me you're doing a greater disservice because now you are altering the historical record. And you shouldn't do that. You should not do that at all. How are we supposed to learn if we don't see the bad? How are we supposed to know that something was bad, or that we live in a country or were a people that once did bad things, if we erase all those bad things from our media? And going back to the Gone with the Wind, as I said earlier, right? The woman who played the slave, right? She won an Oscar. An Oscar. Black woman in what, the 40s? And she still won an Oscar. She deserves to be recognized for that achievement in a time when it truly would have been exceptional. You can hate the fact that she played a slave. You can think that it was racist. You might be right, especially given the time period. I would wager that it's more likely than not that you're right. But still, don't erase her accomplishments to assuage your own conscience or your own ego, right? Because then what do we do? Okay, should we get rid of all of Billie Holiday's music because she won awards and was recognized at a time when blacks were treated as less than, because she had to go through special doors so that people wouldn't see her? What does that help? What does that prove? Erasing her existence. Because that's where this goes, right? First people say, oh, high song of the South. Then it's, oh, get rid of Gone with the Wind. Sorry, Queen Latifah. You're wrong. These need to exist. We need to know about them. We should not hide them. We should be honest about them. That film, however, whatever you feel about it, Gone with the Wind has a right to exist. You don't have to watch it. You do not have to watch it. I've never seen it. I don't think I will. Again, it's not my type of movie. But it deserves to exist. And it should not be erased just because it is now socially unacceptable. Because guess what? One day, the stupid stuff we do will be socially unacceptable. So anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good day. Well, good night, everybody. Bye.